Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to look at the global stories that have made it to the front pages of our national dailies. And joining us this morning is JIDE Johnson, is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Rume, and good morning to our viewers all over the world. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. All right, so this morning would begin with the Business NG, and the Business NG leads with U.S. imposes 14% tariff on Nigerian exports. It's also the leading story on the Punch, and the Punch says Trump's tariff threatens 10 billion naira U.S.-Nigeria trade. And the writer here says 25-year duty-free AGOA partnership in danger. Nigerian-American Commerce Chamber worries. Also, Nigeria's crude revenue may plunge as U.S. begin enforcement when Nasima raises concern. So there's just a lot because, of course, we've been thinking of our economy and what the economy is saying, and also having to generate more revenue. So even the revenue that we supposedly thought we had is now being threatened because of this 14% tariff that is imposed by President Trump, and also the Nigerian-U.S. trade is well, let's say it's a bit shaky right now. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, it's the tariff imposition aptly tagged by Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, as Liberation Day introduced 2nd April of this year. It's a global tariff regime in which American government imposed tariff on all nations in reciprocity of the tariff they've also imposed on their own nation too. Well, which a lot of people have said is against free trade. But the argument of America is we are calling for fair trade. If trade is free, at least there should be some fairness in the approach with which countries trade with one another. So for me, those reasons allowing Nigeria and the rest of it did not do their own work. If they had really done their own work, they would have done the needful to avoid this particular tariff imposition. Because while Trump campaigned on this, he said it throughout the campaign, as soon as he assumed office, it has been what he's been talking about. And if you listen to Trump's interview 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 20 years ago, even before he became president, this has been the fulcrum of his thought concerning American trade and foreign policy. So what should have been our response? Our response should have been, in what way could we ensure that whatever tariff that is imposed does not damage our local economy, and how can we tap into it? So if Nigeria is imposing tariffs on American products, I think that our trade representative and the American representative should go into negotiation and look at ways in which they can balance the trade. And those that are engaging in business relationship with the United States of America can benefit from this. So that's my view concerning this. We are talking about America imposing tariff on tariff is just an additional, is an external tax. So what do we talk about? The kind of internal tariffs that we have imposed on businesses in Nigeria and locally. People are screaming about just 14%. How many percentage have we added to petroleum products? How many percentage have they added to electricity? How many percentage have they added to different things within Nigeria that has even stifled business growth? So look, let every country look inward. That's I think the policy thrust of Donald Trump. Look inward, make your country first, do something which is in the best interest of your country, and then if you want to trade with America, let's trade on fair basis, not on free trade, that one country is exploiting the other. I think that's the principle of Donald Trump's economic policy.
I mean, right now it says the foreign portfolio investors pull back from Nigeria Eurobonds amid safety first strategies. So what ways do you think we can handle this right now? I know that, like you've said, even here in Nigeria, we've seen the rise of so many things, so many tariffs for instance, subsidy being gone. So fuel has gotten more expensive, data, electricity and whatnot. So, but for people, for these foreign investors who need to open up their portfolios and ensure that they optimize it, what do you think they need to be doing right now?
Well, I think if you are looking for foreign investors, I've said over time on this program and many of the opportunities that I've had to have used the media platform to share my view, that the only way you can grow your economy is for you to create a business environment that encourages local investors, create an enabling environment that makes small, medium scale entrepreneurs to invest, to engage in enterprise. Make sure business environment to be business friendly. Create a regime that attracts your local job. And when you provide that environment, what happens? Other foreigners, first and foremost, you first attract your nationals that are in other countries. They will repatriate whatever money they made to come and invest at home, which increases your GNP. And then invariably they also bring about business partners who join them in also invest in the economy. But if Nigerians do not have confidence invest in Nigeria, how do you expect somebody, for example, to come and invest in Nigeria, in which our polity is volatile, in which there is no security, security of lives and property is not guaranteed, and then the independence of the judiciary or the credibility of the judiciary is under question. You don't even know what type of judgment the judiciary is going to be. So I'll take to that I know that probably the Supreme Court can pass a judgment based on which side of the bed they wake up from in the morning, and then you think, I'll come and invest my money. So there are things that we need to do to encourage foreign investment to come in, but that we need to provide. First and foremost, you must create local confidence. One, local confidence in local products. You are asking me about this. How many of our governors or presidents are driving local cars? How many of them? Mm-hmm. How many of them are consuming local rice? How many of them are using local fabrics? How many of them? So their taste and their lifestyle is foreign. Our president has gone to France. How many times has he gone to France? During Buhari administration, it was Britain. During Yar'Adua, it was Germany. So our president, is gone to France now. How many times have you seen Macron come to Nigeria? On a working visit, you see the governor of Florida coming to Africa or coming to Nigeria to say that he's coming on a working visit or he's coming on to come and rest, and then you see there are a lot of things that are wrong with our system, and you don't need to say how to tell you that. All you need to do is to go back to the basics, do the needful, and what is required will follow the needful. It's very simple. Create an enabling environment, ensure that you encourage people to invest locally, ensure that your foreign nationals that are outside the shores of the country can come and invest in your country, create an independent, fearless judiciary that helps people that have made their investment to protect their investment in Nigeria, provide infrastructural backbone, provide energy. Where is the energy? There's no. I'm using natural light on Friday morning, and I can tell you the number of hours you have light in a day is not up to 2 to 4 hours in a day, and then you call that the country that someone. Imagine somebody investing in. You look at what it has even done to hospitality business. If you are coming to Nigeria to make investment, and you come to Nigeria, you stay in hotels, you stay in guest houses, and the rest of it. Most of the guest houses are outside of the core cities, the metropolitan cities. Just go into interior of Nigeria, not even interior, even in some places in Lagos, they are rationing energy. So they will put on the generator in the night at 10 o'clock. That's when you can use the AC, and they will tune it up by 4. You can't use AC, you use fan, and then you are bringing somebody to come and invest. And when he's coming to invest, what is he going to use to power his industry? It's I don't know.
All right. Well, let's not just dive into it because sometimes you can get really frustrated. But there's another story on the Punch that says Afenifere rejects National Assembly bill on indigenship by marriage. So there is a bill that is obviously currently passed for second reading, and this bill seeks to grant indigenous status and rights to anyone who have lived in a particular area for 10 years, or a woman who is married to an indigene of that area. And even though, it's been said that there are classes of, of people. We have the indigents, otherwise called as natives. We have the citizens, the residents, and visitors. But Afenifere right now is saying no, they're rejecting this. However, the Sultan of Sokoto has advocated for the elimination of the policy, that can obviously tend to distinguish between indigents and non-indigents. But what's your take on this bill right now? Because it's already being passed for second reading. So if you live in an area for 10 years, or if you're married to someone from that area, you can be given an indigenship. So, what's your thoughts on this one?
There is no basis for us to have indigenship even in our constitution. What you should have is citizenship. I've explained it over time. There are three categorizations that we use to identify Nigeria. First and foremost, you are an indigene of a local government, you are an origin of a state, and then before you become the citizen of Nigeria. That's why patriotism and nationalism is not inherent in every Nigerian. An average American sees himself first and foremost as an American, not as a native of Columbus in Ohio, or as a native of Miami in Florida, or as a native of San Francisco in California. So these are the things that we need to remove. I used to joke with my senior colleagues in the media, and I tell them, for those of them that were giving birth to before the creation of state in Nigeria, that are still alive today, I said, first and foremost, Nigeria has decimated your identity. One, you are first and foremost, we belong to the Northern and Southern Protectorate. From the Northern and Southern Protectorate, somewhere in Lagos Colony, for example, my dad was in Lagos Colony. So then from Lagos Colony, from the Northern and Southern Protectorate, we created the region, Western region, Eastern region, and Northern region. So they have that identity. Then from there, they created the 12 states. From 12 states, we moved to 19 states. 19 states, we moved to 30 states. 30 states, we moved to 36 states. Some have even moved with the idea of having 57 states. So which indigenship of which some people have changed indigenship over how many periods and state of origin over how many periods. The thing that we need to do to improve nationalism is to remove this indigenship. That's the reality for this. Because we create this set of identity for political gains, and this divide is used by the political class to have a control over the mass, because once they use this identity, we rally around at this identity, and then we begin to see others from other identity has not been part and parcel of us as our enemy. And then look, while we're in primary school, who cares about identity? We all live together. We don't even know the state of origin we are from. We don't even know. You can't even differentiate between a Yoruba boy, an Hausa boy, or an Igbo boy in primary school. Then we get to secondary school. It is when we get to the university that this identity crisis begins to create. That's when you have the Paracos, the Ekiti Paracos, the association of Northern students, association of this, association of that, and these are used just for political gains, not in the interest of anybody. The question I ask you, Rume, is if you get married to an American, don't you automatically become an American?
Yeah.
You automatically become an American. If you are giving birth to in countries whereby birthright citizenship is in place, you become the citizen of that country. So why can't somebody giving birth to in Lagos that is from Nigeria claim Lagos, for example? Look, if you have traveled wide and you have seen wide, there are loads of people from the southwest that are born in Kano that have claimed.
So that would be your state of origin.
And there are loads of people that are born. Yeah, that use Kano. I'm telling you for a fact. These are realities. And there are people that are not even from Lagos, that were born in Lagos, that have claimed to be Lagos indigenous. They've used it for political expediencies. You joke about it. Some people say I'm from Lagos Island. Most of them are from Kwara State, and they claim that they are from Lagos. Lagos, you can go and do your.
Well, what Afeni
statement of fact. Are you getting my point? So
yes, sir.
And then you go, you go to Kano, you go to Kaduna, you see a lot of people that have Yoruba descent, that as a result of cultural assimilation, over time, they've lived so long, they falsely claim that they are from Kano, just for political expedience, or they are from Kaduna, or they are from Katsina, or they are from Kebbi, and they change their name. They change their name. Some people trace their ancestry, to say that their ancestry is from. I knew of a strong media icon that I used to respect. In those days of June 12th struggle, we used to listen to his comment on BBC, and then all of a sudden, because of political correctness and political expediency, who later became the chairman of NBC in Abidjan, he changed his name. He northernized his name just to reflect an identity that is from the north. So until we remove all of these dividing elements, we still be having this crisis of identity in Nigeria.
Well, what Afenifere is citing in this case is it could cause ethnic tension and violence. So they're saying this bill needs to be on hold. But I mean, we'll see how this goes. It's a developing story, so we'll see how this goes. All right, so let's look at The Guardian, and of course, Natasha is everywhere on all of the papers, because if we check out the Punch, it says botched recall PDP, Natasha alerts INEC as petitioners mobilize constituents. On The Guardian, it says petitioners adamant on Natasha's recall as INEC halts process. So what's your take with, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the news, you've seen Natasha in her constituents, she had to fly in because of course they had blocked the waterways, they had blocked the road as well. With all of the drama that ensued, what's your take on this? And I mean, where do you stand, especially with the fact that they were trying to recall her, but right now INEC has, put a stop to that petition?
Well, I love her courage, I love her tenacity, and we pronounce her name using Ghanaian intonation. It means don't touch me. She's demonstrated a brave heart that is lacking with the oppositions, giving the opposition the direction with which they can fight for their battle. If you look at the charade surrounding the how is it possible to gather such amount of signature in 2 days? Some days, well, the way people's election, the way results are cooked and manufactured, and so it's easier for anything to get done. You recall that it was in the same character and elements tried to record Senator Dino Melai. They even got to the point of the processes that are provided, the clauses that are provided for recalling the constitution are so stringent that for you to meet such, it is easier for the camel to go through the news than for you to meet it. Beyond that, I saw something in the statement with INEC providing a clue for what the petitioners could count on. They give them the numbers that they require, they need. They said the signature is less than, it requires up to about 30,000 for it to meet the threshold of 15 plus 1%. Let them get it, but the bottom line is that how quickly have they been able to even verify the signature of people that signed the petition? And how did they must have had access, they must have access to INEC voters register or the rest of it, because how is it possible for them to get everybody in the voters roll? Then how often do we clean the voters roll? I know a lot of dead relatives, friends, and family whose names are still on the voters roll. Whose names have not been cleaned from the voters roll. And so when I went to vote in 2023, I was pointing out to friends that you can see this name is still on the voters roll. They've not been cleaned, yet they still exist in the voters roll. So do we have a clean voters register? You could see that record is not an organic record. It was a politically inspired record. And If she had not done the homecoming she did on Tuesday, I'm sure they will have gone ahead to say that they've gotten the required signature, because you will see the flip flop. On one day, INEC released the statement that they've not met the threshold. The following day, they release another statement, and they are quick to drop a statement in the public domain, and they are forgetting that whatever they dropped in the public domain in the official letterhead paper is a public record that can be tendered in court as evidence, and which further weakens the credibility of INEC. If you do the credibility index of INEC with Nigerians, do you think Nigerians have confidence, one, in INEC? Do you think they even have confidence in the electoral process? You see the turnout concerning 2027 election. 2027, I've told colleagues, I've told friends, will I want to go and spend another 8 hours in the studio on election night and then be denying myself sleep, denying myself everything, and then I'll be doing analysis that will be paralyzed by the activities of INEC and some corrupt politicians who will go ahead to cook result and announce the result like a thief in the night. You know, like scripture says, when men went to sleep, the enemy came in the night to sow tears. So, you know, they will just paralyze your analysis with their shenanigans. You'll be making projections. Okay, this one plus one in politics in Nigeria is not 2. 1 plus 1 in election in Nigeria is not 2. It could be 200, it could be 2,000.
You never know. You never know. Yeah, but for Natasha, I mean, like you said, for Natasha, like you said, I mean, we celebrate her courage, and I mean, it's great that we're seeing this happen before our eyes. So maybe there is hope for Nigerian democracy. Maybe there is just a little glimpse of hope, and that's what we're seeing here. So, I mean, we'll just see how this goes. Let's take another story on The Guardian, and this obviously... There's no
hope for Nigerian democracy.
Be hopeful. Be optimistic about it, please. Be optimistic. All right, so on The Guardian, it leads with how vandalism, scavenging, ruin critical assets, damage the economy. So, of course, we've seen the power grid shut down many times. In fact, last year, we couldn't count the number of times that the national grid did collapse. We've seen cable cuts, we've seen vandalism with pipelines, so many things, right? Even on the roads, right? You see people digging to get stuff. The street lights, the people who vandalize that takes it to go and sell, and that's the scavenging now. And we've seen that this has become a growing trend. In fact, for a lot of Nigerians, criminal-minded Nigerians, they've started to use it as a thriving business for themselves. How do you think we can mitigate it? I know vandalism is something that happens everywhere, but if it's already affecting the economy, what can we do about it?
You know, the reason why the NDCSC, which used to be a paramilitary organization, was institutionalized as a voluntary paramilitary organization, was institutionalized as part of the security agencies in Nigeria. It was institutionalized and given the core mandate for what? To provide security for critical infrastructure, and then with security contractors that are given contractors to monitor the pipeline. When you have the Navy, you have the Army, you have the Air Force, then you have the police, you have immigration, you have NDCHC, you have EFCC, you have ICPC, you have so many agencies of government, and then yet our critical infrastructure is being piloted by economic terrorists, and nothing is happening. As far as I am concerned, it is those that we have charged with responsibility of not only securing lives, but also securing property. Not only securing property, also the territorial integrity of Nigeria. These are constitutional requirements, and on yearly basis, all of these agencies, they go to the National Assembly, they vote money for them. Based on their vote, they come up with different tax regime. They tax you and I yearly, because government said their expenses are increasing, yet we are not getting value for the money they are collecting they are collecting from us in providing security for our critical infrastructure, in providing security for the territorial integrity of Nigeria, in securing lives and property of an average habitant. And then you said I should have hope. I should have hope when your life is not secured, when your business cannot be secured. How can you go to farm investment? They said you should invest in agriculture. Why do you think that the cost of goods and services are high? People can't safely go to their farms without being feel threatened, without they be kidnapped or what have you. You can go on, even if they get some measure of produce. How do they transfer those produce from the rural area to the cities? What measures have we put in place to ensure that they can transport or what they have produced to the cities without adding to additional production costs through transportation fee and the rest of it? So you can go on and on and on and on and on and on and. We are just in a vicious cycle. What we have is that every 4 years we do election. Before the election, they will make promises, and then we'll do election 4 years. After the new government comes into power, they do everything to secure second term. Once they secure second term, then as the second term is coming to an end, our hopes will be raising again, and then we'll be thinking that there will be change, there will be this, there will be that, and then the new government will come in, and then we go back to that the same thing, the same manner, and expect to get the different results. It's a big insanity. There's nothing we can do to change the situation except we change our ways. And how do we change our ways? Is to create institutions. It's just like the judiciary. It's just like the security agencies. It is not wishful thinking. It is not. Prayer cannot solve the problem. I love what the pro-chancellor of Covenant University said. He said any prayer that requires God to do what man is supposed to do for himself is witchcraft. In Nigeria, we think prayer can solve.
You're trying to manipulate God.
God gave us the brain, basic intelligence to solve our problem. There's a society where they don't pray, they don't take their light. Their national grid does not collapse. Their public transportation.
To ride on what you're saying, right? There are people who make this, it's a school of thought, but they're saying that the only reason why we're more religious or more spiritual is because most of our needs are not met. And if you've gone abroad where you've lived in situations or systems where all of your needs are met, you might not be as religious like Nigerians. So I kind of understand what you're saying. However, we need to go, but I want to take this one on Nature's News. And Nature News, it says, Nigeria street food linked to 200,000 annual deaths, and that's according to the NIMR. So they warn that Nigerian street food. So how do you think we can regulate that? Because you were just speaking about institutions, and if we're saying that we want to put certain things in place, we need to institutionalize a lot of things. So how do we ensure that people are not dying because of the street foods, like the things that you're just taking, without knowing what harm it could do in your body?
Well, while we were young, we used to have the sanitary inspectors. We call them wuli. Mm-hmm. We call them wuli wuli. The sanitary inspectors, they go around. But you doubt them in all, they are still there. You know what they do now? The only time they go out is they go out on Thursday to inspect to go on environmental inspection. And what are they about? It's about revenue. It's about revenue generation. It's not about any sanitary inspection. It's not about health and human services. It's not about sanitation. It's not about hygiene. It's just about which shop can we lock up, which store can we lock up, who can we arrest, and then how much money can we generate for the local government. So in most cases, most of the policies that we have is about revenue generation. It's not about human services. And that should be the focus of whatever policies government puts in place.
All right,
it's about human service. How can you make the life of people better? And let me end on this. You are talking about you can be religious and not be spiritual. The spirituality, Nigerians are religious, we are not spiritual. So that's just the difference. Spirituality of life is different from religiosity. So what we have is religiosity and not spirituality. Because if people are spiritual, they will not be stealing money that is meant for them to create to build hospitals, to build roads, to provide life for people.
I'm tempted to say louder for those at the back, but yes, thank you for that. I think that's such a great note to end it. Jide, I want to say thank you so much for coming. It's always a pleasure having you on our show. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure starting the weekend with you, Rume. Have a wonderful weekend.
Have a wonderful weekend, sir. All right, we've been speaking with JIDE Johnson. He's a public affairs analyst, and we've just been taking the global stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing our first hot topic that talks about INEC rejecting Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's recall petition. So please stay with us.